Hello and welcome to another episode of Cascadia Mountain Weather. It's Wednesday, October 25th. My name is Kyle McCrone and I'm here with Wyatt Mullen, and we're going to talk about the fresh snow that's fallen.
Yeah, so winter has made, kind of its first inroads into the mountain
Hooray!
and also down in the lowland. So if you didn't notice when you walked outside this morning or yesterday, it was a little bit colder than it's been recently. Um, Basically, we can look at some of the current conditions. This photo was from a couple years ago, but might be what you might see out this weekend. So looking at today's satellite image, you can see some of that fresh new snow up in the mountains, especially to the north in BC. It was kind of a little bit too cloud covered down south. Washington Pass picked up a couple inches. This is from WashStat, the Washington State Department of Transportation, earlier today. This is from Baker. Baker picked up a couple inches as well. This is courtesy of their website. Looking out at Alpental, didn't see as much as maybe was forecast in that area, but definitely saw some snow, especially at the higher elevations. And then looking out towards Crystal, which definitely saw decent, some snow, not a crazy amount either, but enough to, make it beautiful and really probably going to be an incredible weekend. Here's also looking from the top of Crystal earlier this evening. It was just starting to clear out, and Rainier didn't quite make an appearance, but you can see that at the top there's a mixture of snow, probably nothing that's going to last too long at the top.
This is the estimated snowfall over the last 72 hours. So this storm had a lot of uncertainty going in. There were times last week where we were looking at, like 2 feet of snow at Snoqualmie Pass, other times that it said it was going to get zero. Ultimately, the storm definitely hit harder to the north, in the northeastern Cascades, and then the Oregon Cascades. We can see the Oregon Cascades actually picked up over a foot. So definitely Bachelor, people are already skiing Bachelor a few weeks ago. There's probably some turns to be had down there. So here's a zoom in on the Snoqualmie Pass area in US2. You can see that we probably only got maybe like 6 inches, maybe 8 inches in the higher terrain around Snoqualmie Pass. There were reports from Snow Lake today of about 4 to 6 inches of fresh snow at Snoqualmie Pass proper, more like just an inch or so. It was kind of borderline temperatures. As the storm progressed, however, it favored the eastern slope, so there might be more like a foot of snow in the Stewart Range. Up north, we got quite a bit of snow. Mount Baker itself probably got 1 foot plus. And even the foothills around Mount Vernon and out where Wyatt lives, he said Logger Island looked like midwinter conditions. So those foothills, 4,000 or 5,000 feet, picked up probably 1 to 2 feet of snow impressively.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see them this early in the season.
Here's a view of the Southern Cascades. So, somewhere in the 6 to 8 inches, maybe closer to a foot up on Rainier. Not crazy totals. And the Olympics, kind of similar range. I think that this storm, there is a little more than you'd expect in the Northeast Cascades, and that's probably due to some Fraser outflow winds and orographic lift in that area. And then the real outlier is the Chelan Sawtooth, which is traditionally one of the drier part of the Cascades, but probably picked up well over a foot of snow because the storm kind of towards the end has favored the eastern slopes of the Cascades. And the real interesting thing is the Waterville Plateau, the eastern Washington, at like 2,000 feet in Mansfield, probably got 4 inches of snow or so. So Badger Mountain out in Waterville, it's probably firing right now.
Yeah, so if we're transitioning now to looking at what's coming up for the week, the main story is going to be the cold temperatures. It's going to be should be sunny for most of the days. Maybe you'll have some clouds around on Friday, the isolated chance of a shower, especially the further south you go. Oregon actually has a pretty good chance of seeing a little bit more snow in kind of that northern Oregon area. But really what we're talking about is the cold temperatures. We're going to see some pretty strong wind coming in. Basically another modified Arctic push coming in through the Fraser Valley. So you can see that the wind gusts picking up in Bellingham. This is for Friday in the afternoon. You'll definitely see that in the North Cascades, where the wind chill might actually drop below zero. So highs are going to be kind of in the 20s. It might get into the 30s at the upper elevations. Lows are going to be in the single digits in the teens. And kind of northeast, in the northeastern Cascades, we might even drop below zero. So it is going to be cold out there, kind of 10 to 15 degrees below normal. And with that wind, it could make it feel extra chilly. Here's the forecast looking down kind of on that Mount Rainier area for 10,000 feet. So seeing that, yeah, those temperatures, highs in the teens and 20s, lows in the single digits, with a little bit of wind, going to make it feel quite cold. So make sure you bundle up, but also the sun will be out, so that will alleviate that a little bit.
Trail conditions are definitely going to be quite a bit different this weekend than past weekends. We can expect this snow to definitely linger through the weekend. It might start to melt out in areas on southern aspects or areas that are thinner. So you might encounter certain situations like this where you got snow on a ridge, more snow on the north side. Trails, even as low as 3,000 feet, could become pretty icy as more people go on them. They stay in the shade in the north aspect. They're not going to melt out super fast. And as more people go on them, they can get pretty icy. So microspikes might be pretty helpful with the overnight low temperatures. Trails are going to freeze hard, melt during the day, and freeze again. And additionally, roads might be like that. So all the passes are still open. Highway 20, except Artist Point closed, so you have to park down at Heather Meadows. But all these roads, the driving conditions are going to be slick in the morning, so definitely drive carefully. We're definitely entering the winter season. There's also some winter activities popping up. So this is probably the best window we've seen so far for fall ice climbing. The Heliotrope Road just opened. That was always been my favorite go-to spot for some fall ice climbing. This is actually a photo from October 2 years ago. So you can get some pretty decent water ice. I would expect probably most climbs not to be in, just since it's only been cold for 4 days or so, but there'll probably be something, because up there with the cold, clear nights, temperatures in the teens at night, things will freeze up pretty quick, but the ice will definitely be thin, maybe brittle, so you have to be a little more experienced with that. Also, the Heliotrope Road is going to get very icy this weekend as more people drive it. I have a friend that went up there this morning, drove all the way to the trailhead in wet snow. And as more people drive that and then it freezes overnight, goes through some freeze thaw cycles, that road can become very treacherous. And I've seen a lot of cars in the ditch there late fall. So definitely be careful with that. He did report pretty decent skiing. You still got to hike the trail, hike up, kind of closer to where there's the glacier part of Heliotrope Ridge. So that is a decent skiing option if you're looking to ski this weekend. Probably the only real reasonable options are the Muir Snowfield and Heliotrope Ridge. It's hard to know what conditions you're going to get. The powder might be a little wind blown, might be a little sun affected by the weekend, but what can you really ask for in October? If you're getting decent skiing, then that's pretty great. And as always, early season hazards are still going to exist. Smaller crevasses, crevasses might not be fully bridged. So think carefully about where you're going on a glacier. It's helpful, I think, to look at satellite imagery and look for areas that don't really have major crevassing. So anything that, would have had crevasses, it's gotten filled in, hopefully, by other storms. Definitely take it slow. There's going to be rocks still hiding. So we got a long ways to go. Ski season is just barely getting started.
Yeah, definitely going to be some shark infested waters out there.
Yeah, the sharks are hungry. There will be blood in the water.
Yeah, another thing that might be kind of interesting with the cold, clear weather is we might start seeing some of the lakes freezing. So if we have a long enough stretch, and I'm not sure this is going to be quite long enough, but for some of the smaller ponds and stuff like that, definitely it can be extremely beautiful. If you decide to go out on the ice, always be extremely careful, test the thickness, and know what you're getting into. But early season, if we do have colds and clear weather, it can provide for some just incredible skating opportunities. Something that I've always wanted to do, but never really gotten an opportunity. Unfortunately, the thing that might be preventing that from happening is that while we are going to stay cold and clear through the weekends, we are going to start moderating a bit. So temperatures will bump up a couple degrees, especially after Saturday, which looks to be the coldest day. And getting into early next week, looks like it should stay dry for a relatively extended period, but towards the end of next week, we're probably going to be starting to see some more like southerly flow. And that ends up being warmer than normal and wetter than normal. And so that kind of applies to potentially your Pineapple Expresses, your atmospheric rivers. They tend to bump up temperatures and bump up snow levels. And so it's uncertain at the moment exactly if that's going to happen, but next weekend probably won't be as cold and probably won't be as dry. And a lot of the snow that fell might end up melting, especially below about 6,000 feet as those atmospheric rivers come in and wipe out any snow that fell.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Cascadia Mountain Weather. We hope you have a great Halloween weekend. And if you enjoy this channel, subscribe for future videos.